Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Freeman Files on the J Free 906 podcast. Tom Burns and Seth here with me tonight. How you guys
I know.
doing?
Put down the book. We can talk
Put
later.
down the mic. Seth, you're still muted, sir. Don't forget to. There you go.
Tom's studying until the very
cramming, baby. Cramming.
Yeah, he's cramming. He's got some new information to give us tonight that he found, so that's going to be good. I love the fact that he's always in there digging and coming from looking for some new stuff. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. We appreciate it very much. And like I always say, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up if you like the content of the show we do tonight. I'll tell you what, it's been too long. I was telling the guys and Linda, I was jonesing to get going here tonight. Oh, look at that, Slovenia! Wow,
cool.
Lenora, welcome. Glad to have you here with us. That's awesome. I love to find out where people are from because there's so many, folks from all over the world that join us, and that's so cool. Even though it might be, oh, thank you, Roy. Appreciate that. Yeah, that was created by Matthew Ewald. If you don't know, if some of the Skinwalker Ranch shows that we did with Shannon. That is her husband, and he created that. He is an actor, and yeah, he's really good, and he created that for it. I had to change the music on it. He had picked out some awesome music, and unfortunately I had to change it because I kept getting hit with copyright stuff. I was working with the folks trying to get that all straightened out. It became such a hassle. I just changed it. So as you can see, I'm not in my regular studio tonight. I'm actually in the fifth wheel because we are down in Florida right now, and it's quite cold actually.
In a secure remote location.
Secure remote location in mid-Florida somewhere. Yep. But anyway, so you guys doing all right? You got a lot of snow on the ground? I know you don't, Seth, but
we had a couple of feet, and then it got mild, and it all went away, and now it's snowing again. So
wow.
Wake up tomorrow morning, look out and see what you got.
Yeah. So what kind of temperatures are you running right now there, Seth?
Oh, at night it's like in the 30s, and then during the day it's been in the 40s and 50s. Nice and sunny. No snow on the ground. I don't even know what that would be like.
That's kind of what it's been like here. When we first got down here, and I know this isn't about Florida, so I'm not going to talk about this all night. But when we first got down here, it was very, very nice, just right around 70 degrees and sunny. And then it got cold when the cold front came down. And so now we're running about 50s in the daytime and 30s at night. So kind of chilly.
Not bad.
No, not bad.
I'm not great for Florida. But I'd take it.
Not going to complain. All right. A couple of things I did want to talk about real quick tonight. I did hear we had the news come out, as some of you know, that are into Expedition Bigfoot or Bigfoot information in general. We just found out that on January 22nd, Expedition Bigfoot is coming out with their next season. We don't know yet if this is a continuation of last season because there was a lot of questions that did not get answered in the end of that season.
Yeah, it was super sudden. Just we found this amazing thing. Goodbye.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so we were kind of disappointed. So we don't know if that's a continuation or did they go out and do some more? We'll find out. But we will be talking about Expedition Bigfoot on Thursday nights, not every single Thursday night, but on many as we go along. Edgewater, Florida. All right, Mark. All right. I'm in your state now. So the other thing I wanted to mention before we get started here tonight, real quick, was the new website. I have a new, it's still jfree906.com, new website. I brought it up, I don't know, a week or so ago, but I'm telling everybody about it now. I had the lady by the name of Sherry Boudreau. She is up in Canada, and she was on our podcast. We had a show with her, and she wrote the book called Oak Island Treasure Kids. And I found out that she does websites. So I contacted her and I said, my website is absolute disaster because I don't know what I'm doing with them. So please help me. And she did. And it is now up. And I want to tell you, folks, there's a little surprise there for everyone. We've got a lot of different things going on this website besides just, talking about me and the podcast and all that kind of stuff. But it also talks about other people's podcasts that you might find interesting. So we've been slowly getting those on it. Warren, thank you so much from Australia. All right. Warren, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. So there's some other podcasts on the main page. You scroll down, you'll see other podcasts of interest. We have Sherry is also the one who did the Carmen Legs new website. So that's how I found out about her doing those and got in contact with her and everything. So, but she does a fantastic job. But go check out. I got a link for the podcast that we did with her. It was almost 1 year ago. I think it was like on the 16th or something like that of January of 2024. So check that out. It's about 18 minutes or so. She's talking about her book, Oak Island Treasure Kids. So check that out. And if you like the website, she can do one for you. So she did a great job with it. So now it's up to me to keep it going and not mess it up. But the thing I wanted to say also about the website is there is a cipher on it, a Bakesonian style cipher that was created by Mr. Jake Roberts of the Ghost of Bacon. So he created a cipher and put it on there. And if you can figure it out, the first one that gets the answer to this cipher is going to get some free merch. I got some new stuff coming in, hats, and I got some hoodies and stuff and whatnot coming. The first person that can email me with the answer, the correct answer to this Bakesonian style cipher, will get some merch. All right, we'll get some.
Wow, that's cool.
So go there, check it out. It's jfree906.com. Don't do it now. Stay safe. Watch the show. Do it later. You can check it out. But we're going to do some blogging there. We're going to do some, we have some stuff from Theorist, whatnot, and other podcasts that you might find interesting. Loads of stuff there. So we're going to try to keep it going. Anyway, all right. One last thing. Tonight's giveaway. We got a couple of things for tonight's giveaway. And Linda has got this is it's like a little treasure chest that is on the top of the picture there, and then you see that a cross there that was created by Mr. Carmen Legg. I bought that at the Oak Island Treasure Shop, and then there's a Maravidi there also, and the Maravidi was at Michelle Tomeyer. Give me a nod, Linda. Yes, Michelle Tomeyer, and also the case. Okay, perfect. So we're going to give those away here in just a little bit. We'll do the spin. We'll talk all about that when we get there, and take that.
Very cool.
I don't know if she's doing another book. Okay, Leah was asking. Okay, I don't know. I'll have to ask her about that and see if she's going to do a follow up to the Oak Island Treasure Kids. It was really fun. I'm sorry. What was that? I thought I heard one of you guys saying something.
Nope.
Oh,
okay.
I was just saying how cool it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The giveaway.
Ah, man, I tell you what, I'm excited about being on it. Can you tell?
I think we're all glad to be back. Yeah. Yesterday was like, I woke up yesterday morning. Was like, yes, Oak Island Day.
Yep.
Yes, I was too. Who else was excited about that? I tell you what, I know I was, to watch the show and then get here and get together with all of you for tonight's show. And so the Oak Island Speculation Department is in session. We're going to
call to order.
A call to order. Yep, we're going to do some speculating tonight for sure, because there's just too much to talk about that. As we get some answers as we go along tonight. So expect some speculation tonight.
They gave us lots of stuff to speculate on last night.
Yes, they did. And I apologize up front. Been fighting a cough here for a while, so we'll hopefully that won't disturb us too much. All right, and so let's get rolling here. All right, so the Curse of Oak Island. We are season 12. Sorry, folks. Season 12, episode number 7. It's all your vault. Interesting name and interesting subject, of course. We're going to start off with the arrival of Katya Drayton to the island, coming on there with her papa, Gary. And she kind of gets going right away. They get her rolling and take her right out to Smith's Cove. And I think she found out pretty quickly that her clothing might need to be modified a little.
Yeah, she needed a fashion update on the footwear, at least.
Yeah, you're going to need boots if you're going to be working pretty much anywhere. Maybe not if you're over in lot 4, but or 5 or whatever. But certainly in the
which she acquired pretty quickly.
Yeah, you've seen that change
by day 2.
Yeah, by day 2, right? So they're over here. They're still working in Smith's Cove, and they're digging over here. They've been going around in different spots, and they're looking for the flood tunnel that was supposedly found by the Restalls, and they're not sure exactly where all that took place. Yeah. Yeah, Gary says it real quick. He's gotcha. Okay, yeah. I hope I'm saying it correctly. If she ever hears this podcast, I vote for her. But you see, they moved over a little bit. You see that right behind the excavator there is the cave-in pit, and they've moved over a little bit to try to find this. They're looking for the vertical portion of the flood tunnel.
Yeah.
This was a shot from I forget. This was season
2018 is when it was. So whatever season that would have been. Yeah.
And you see where they were digging then. I mean, almost in the same spot. I mean, basically, he's sitting. The excavator is sitting where he's digging now.
Mm-hmm.
This was when they went down. What they put the camera on the bucket and sent the bucket down there because and Rick had actually gone down.
Yeah.
How crazy is that, right?
I love on that picture how all the crew are all standing way back from the hole, right? Then you get Rick and Marty hanging down over the edge.
Yeah.
Everybody else is standing back 15, 20 feet.
Yeah, way over here. Got people all over the place, but they're back. Yeah, and Rick's in the bucket going down. But yeah. So anyway, they were all digging in that spot, and I'm wondering. It made me wonder, why didn't they dig in the same spot or a little bit further toward the cave-in pit from that? Because remember, they found that wood down there. Here's a couple pictures of where they were, not last week, but this was some of the digging. Right here is where they were dug that big hole right in that area. So I don't know. It's kind of, you can see the trees right here where they were, just to the left of the trees.
Like Craig says, they're trying to get a starting point. I don't know, or maybe they're going to use, if they could get 2 points to draw a line through. They already know where one spot is.
Yeah. It makes you wonder. Yeah. Were they trying to block it off, and that's what, and here's when they were drilling. They actually did some drilling back there. I had forgotten about this. This is when they put the coffer dam in. And they actually did some sonic drilling in that spot, that same spot. That was before they did the big dig down in there, that big hole, I believe. It was filled in by September, was it? Okay, Michelle. Yeah. So, I mean, they've done a lot of stuff down here trying to find these the so-called flood tunnels. And you heard Marty say on the show last night that he was now convinced that there actually is a flood tunnel because of the salt water, that the intrusion into the garden shaft, the amount of water that came in flooding in there, and the fact that it was salt water has convinced him that they are, in fact, real, the flood tunnel.
Yeah. And the garden shaft is getting what, 700 or 800 gallons a minute, I think they said.
Yeah.
And back in the day when Chappell dug 2 shafts, trying to stop the flow of one and headed into the other, they were getting an estimated 400 gallons per minute.
Yeah.
So there's something down there that's letting a lot of water run through that place.
Right.
So,
and it's salt water. Go ahead.
Salt water, yeah.
This might be a dumb question, but wouldn't there be a lot more water if they were anywhere near the flood tunnel as they dig over here?
I would think so.
I know it's very muddy, but what they found is pretty interesting. But I would think if it's a flood tunnel and that amount of water was flowing through it to flood the garden shaft, did it just stop? Does the water flow sometimes? I think if you're finding a flood tunnel, you're going to hit water. So I feel like a drill program would be better than just, I don't know, maybe, but I don't know.
Absolutely.
But they're looking for the vertical shaft, not necessarily the tunnel. So I guess it wouldn't have water if it's the vertical shaft. Well, I don't know. It confuses me. And I'm kind of I saw a comment where he was saying, why are they only looking here?
The initial thought was that thought way back when was that Dunfield had destroyed the finger drains.
Right.
When he went down there with his big high cherry picker, whatever they call them, that he had destroyed the finger drains. But that could only be one set of. Well, what if there's a different flood tunnel? Right? What if the finger drains really aren't the problem? What if there's another flood tunnel that, someone like the Duke Downville's crew dug?
Yep.
Right? There could be a totally different, because the finger drain system, as they describe it, certainly isn't the system that they're looking for. Right? The finger drains are basically a flood tunnel coming out with these 5 different box drains off of it. They're looking for a vertical shaft that goes to it.
Yeah. I feel like
straight line.
The finger drains, where they thought those was actually where all those old huge beams, the wooden beams. So I feel like
that area.
Yeah.
Borchers dug the heck out of that place.
Yeah, Borchers brings up they might still be natural cavernous areas that are connected to seawater. I think that's correct. I really do. By now, I believe that's the case. And you go back to the seismic study that was done by Panther Geoscience and Jeremy Church and Burton Cosgrove, because they actually mapped out that there was these big voids down there full of water. And to Tom's point, and to yours, Seth, with that much water coming into the garden shaft, I would think that amount of water is not going to come into the flood tunnel. It's going to be a body of water filled in some of these voids that they tapped into that flooded. It found another place to go because they drilled over there, and now it's coming in from one of those other voided areas that's full of water. Now, slowly but surely, if the flood tunnel is still there, it will fill that back in, the water that went into there with salt water. But the fact that it was salt water is the key to the whole flood tunnel mystery.
Yeah, and you cannot put limestone and salt water together and not have a rapid erosion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's what limestone is formed from when oceans go dry. The residual, whatever's left in the water, after the water evaporates, limestone is what forms.
Yep.
So you can't put the two things together and not have some sort of erosion going on.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple people. Lisa is one, and also Coach that is talking about other flood tunnels.
Yep.
You've got Smith's Cove, and a lot of people have speculated that there is also flood tunnels in South Shore, which is down, in the front side where they drive up to the money pit down there. Is there? Maybe. We don't know. And if there is you go back to the ship's log that Tom went through very, very thoroughly here just recently in a podcast, talking about Duke Danville and entering from the shore. We don't know what shore that was. If it is talking about Oak Island and all that is factual, we don't know what shore that was. Could have been
it just said an entrance from the shore. Period.
Exactly.
Didn't even say what island, as far as that goes.
Why have they never searched? Yeah, why have they never searched for the flood tunnels on the South Shore? Smith's Cove has been smashed to pieces by so many people. There can't be much water flowing through that anymore. Yeah, you're correct there, and that's why we do believe. That's why part of the reason why I believe there is flood tunnel somewhere else is for that reason. Don't forget, they dynamited 4 different places. They drilled down in there, down in Smith's Cove. Probably just up from that tree area. They drilled down, they put dynamite down there. Remember the paper they found?
They blew it up.
They blew it up. So that was one of the reasons why Marty said you probably could never block them off now. If Smith's Cove was the only source of flood tunnel, you could probably never block it off anymore because of all the dynamiting and everything that is done. You've opened up, who knows what you've opened up down there. So,
well, anyway, we know that from what Jack said, they didn't find anything. Once they got put down below 20 feet, they didn't find anything that
they did find some pieces
already
of
disturbed.
Wood. Yeah.
Right. Once they get down there, there's a certain level, Jack said they didn't find anything that was disturbed. So that's when they said, well, like Rick said, all we know for sure is we didn't find anything down to the 40-foot level.
Craig making a deposit into the J-Free 906, the Freeman Files Chappell Vault. Or curse. Oh, yeah, right. Thank you very much, Craig. I appreciate that, sir. Craig is one of the folks that hangs out with us on Tuesday nights. We get in there about 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern time, and we hang out in Discord. I have a Discord channel. There's a link for it down below. And we hang out in there and we watch the reruns, and then We go all quiet during the show because we can't, and we don't watch the show there. Everybody watches it at home, but we talk about it during the commercials. So we have a good time. We get off on tangents sometimes, but we try to keep it Oak Island related for the most part. But it's a lot of fun, and Craig's always there. Appreciate you, Craig. Thank you, sir. So back in the Restall days, they were trying to block it off. This was their attempt, and this was the artist's rendition of them trying to figure out how to do it. And they went down there and they tried to create. They supposedly had found the flood tunnel, which is now what the Oak Island team, is trying to do, find it again. But I think mainly for alignment. I don't know if they're going to think, if they can, they'll probably try to block it off. But I think they're, like Tom said, I think they're mostly doing it for alignment purposes. But they showed this doing the concrete that they did find, concrete wall to block it off in there. Then, here's again showing the excavator digging down there into it, if that's possible to even do. Here's a picture. This was on a nice poster that I have of, and I wanted to show this because this is the idea behind what they're looking for. You've got this layer of rock, and above that layer of rock was covered by, is this like the seaweed, or I'm not seaweed, I'm sorry, the coconut fiber. Thank you. And the seagrass. And then going down through the rocks down, they were looking for this vertical section right here, or maybe the horizontal section, but part of it, that's what they were looking for. And the Restalls were trying to block it off down here with that steel or concrete wall. But this was on this poster I have, and I thought I would take a picture of it and show you guys, because that's the idea. To give you I'm a visual person. I need to see, see it visually. And this is what they're looking for here. Here's a map that Tom, I think you had shared this with me.
It's Jan, I think.
Oh, Jan, that's right. It was Jan. Thank you.
Yeah.
Jan sent this over, and it kind of gives you an idea also of the same thing. You see the finger drains, and then they flood. They go into this section where it's one tunnel going all the way to the money pit. In this upper section, you can kind of see the same thing. This vertical shaft going down so that the water can drain down through the rocks and then make its way this way. And then, of course, this is the cave-in pit, what they were calling the cave-in pit right there. So, and then flooding into the money pit. So, yeah, thank you, Jan, for sharing that. I grabbed that out because I thought it was really an interesting a piece there. Here's another look at it here, another map that was out there. Here's some attempts to try to go down here over the time to block it off. And then you got your shafts. One is the money pit, and then two at 110 feet deep and stuff. I just love these old drawings. I think they're so cool to, go through. Were the flood drains on Zena's map? I don't think so, Pat. I don't believe they were. I don't think it said anything about that on her map.
No, I don't recall anything like that.
Yeah. And remember the concrete they found. They did find concrete. So that part is real. They did find concrete that the Restalls tried to use to block it off. It just didn't work. But they did find it. So that's
do you think they'd use concrete? Just thinking out loud here. Do you think you'd use concrete that if you're trying to stop 400 plus gallons of water per minute, would you use concrete that thin?
I wouldn't.
The pressure snap it.
Right. I was thinking that too. Where I was like, what is
maybe
that
that's
going to do?
Yeah.
Could be.
That could be what happened. Yeah, absolutely. Here's when they were digging. Go ahead.
Maybe there's multiple layers, because didn't they have kind of an imprint of some wire or even like wood board on either side? So maybe it's like they do a layer, another layer, another layer.
Yeah, you can see the imprinting right here.
So maybe that's just kind of one in between some boards and then more. I don't know how they would have done it, but yeah, that right there, Tom, looks like that one just broke off, like you said.
Thank you, Lenora. I will try that next time. I can't get to it now, but drink some hot water. That might help. Yeah, this has been sticking with me for a while now. It's kind of annoying. Here's some of the wood that they brought out of this new hole that they were digging, back from, a little bit to the east and back a little bit from where they were digging before, the one that you saw on the show last night. They did bring up a couple pieces of wood. And here, Tom noted that it looked like a nail hole in it.
Oh, good eye.
What would that indicate to you, Tom?
Well, to me, it looks very similar to what you would refer to being a jack stud. So, in other words, your piece right below the arrow is you'd lay a cross piece on that. That's your vertical support. And then if you were going to have a roof on it or enclose a tunnel or a box or a shaft, you'd put a board across there and drive a nail through the top.
Yep. Yeah, to hold it in place. Yep.
Mm.
Now, why do you suppose that this was found, but yet the end result was we didn't really find anything, so we're moving on? I mean, they found a couple pieces of wood.
Didn't connect anything.
They
They couldn't find the connection.
Do you think they might have been bulldozed into that hole from Dunfield at that level?
Oh, depth? At 20, 30 feet, anything's possible.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know how deep Dunfield went when he bulldozed that whole thing. So
I looked at some of his old photographs, boys, and he made some pretty serious holes down there. He didn't dig the whole thing. He dug in selected areas. There still would be large places that he did not touch.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Katya did find a chunk of something. We don't know what it was yet, but she did find a chunk of metal of some sort.
It'd be exciting to see what they found.
Yeah, I'm curious too. We didn't see it in the lab, so but hopefully we'll find out what that was that she found there.
Yeah, I mean it's almost perfectly hand shaped. So like what? Like even like the length and the width seems like it's just meant to be held. So,
yep. And here's just a distance shot of the hole they were digging there, so you get an idea of where it was. And again, the cave-in pit right here behind it. And so yeah, so that's that. Then we're going to jump over to lot 5, and. This time, and Zane brought it up yesterday in Discord that we got some really good pictures taken of this whole, what used to be the circular feature. I think they call it Site 1 now, right?
Site 1 now, yeah.
Because they have the Site 2 was the one that Helen was working on before.
Look how deep it is.
Yeah. This thing is getting crazy.
So, this thought came to me yesterday. You always think, well, what did they use it for? What did they use it for? What did they use it for? Look where Laird's standing. Mm-hmm. So where he would be, according to where the natural ground is, up where Ethan's standing, he would be at least 4 feet below surface.
Yes.
Which would put you below the frost line. Which would make it something you'd live in the wintertime.
Ah, very good point. Yeah,
wow.
That's a very good point. And he said that wall to his right off his right hand there, is the north wall. Mm-hmm. So that gives us some orientation there, hopefully, because I know that so many of us have been looking at trying to figure out exactly the layout of this thing because we don't get that good of picture of it. So,
well, the shore behind him would be the north shore of the island, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. If you look out that way, you look over to the Oak Island Resort.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of shots of the water this episode. I noticed at the previous scene when they were at the Smith's Cove that you could see, was it one of Tony's boats coming up for a second?
Yeah.
Oh, look, Tony.
Yep.
Or one of his, could have been somebody else, but
yeah. And Tony's boat will pull up right here off of lot 5 too sometimes and honk his horn or something, and let if they're busy with filming or whatever, they won't. But yeah,
that's so cool.
Quite a bit, but really cool shots of this whole thing right here. Yeah, root clear. Yeah, it's not too many roots running through there, is there? Root cellar. Oh, root cellar. Okay, Kat says root cellar. Maybe a root cellar.
Certainly possible.
Like you said, down below the frost line, probably.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's the generally couple feet for the frost line, and
you want to be down a good 4 feet.
Yep.
To get to the frost line here, get below the frost line. Yeah.
Yeah. But some really good pictures of this thing. I was really happy to see some better pictures, and we're going to get better ones as we go along. So glad you guys are back. Back to quality podcast. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hey, without Seth and Tom, I mean,
Linda, Jan, Henry,
Linda and Jan, it takes a team.
The list goes on and on.
Yep.
Everybody that donates.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Everybody that donates. Yeah. in my half-hour chat with Jack and Vanessa, he was so excited about Lot 5. Cool.
Hmm.
Yep. The Lot
It's-
5 story is not over.
No, it's not. And I don't think
Not
they
by a
have
long
a
shot.
definitive answer yet. I mean, it's like everything they find in there, it keeps stretching out the timeline. In Birchtown, Nova Scotia, the Black Loyalists dug holes to live in.
They dug basically pit houses,
Wow.
right? Because
Yeah.
you dig down in the earth to get below the frost line, and then you only need to construct upwards with logs or timbers and sod cover and a couple of feet, and you're in.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Store 6 feet down to avoid frost. Keep your cabbage fresh.
All that cabbage.
Yep. And there was also a shot of this. I don't know if any of you noticed this, but Tom and I did, and Seth. That's an oddly shaped rock, isn't it?
Why is there only one?
And why is there only one?
Is it man-made, man-shaped?
One of these things is not like the other. Interesting. And it looks like
it looks like a square block of some sort.
Looks like a square block. It almost looks like there might be a little mortar on it or something, and why is it blue?
Yeah, good question, Kat.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say. That looks like mortar around it, especially around the top.
Or clay.
Yeah, clay.
Maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it struck me last. And look how smooth it is.
Yeah.
See the rocks around it? They've all got some kind of a texture to them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a ballast rock. I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
Could be.
As Warren says.
To me, the smooth surface says it's been used to do something.
Yeah.
Whether you're grinding grain, beating leather, something. You know, it would be smooth. I don't know, but so what do you folks think it might have been used for?
Yeah, what do you guys? Good question for the chat here. Warren said maybe a ballast rock. Linda says looks man-made. Yep, or
I've seen a lot of square rocks. I can take you over to my camp, which is the topography over there is about the same as Oak Island. It's just rocks. And you can find rocks that are square on 1, 2 right angles. You can find them. Nature does make right angles, but I don't think it makes, a 6-sided right angle. You know what I mean? Like that's square.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Jan said. Flip it over. It's the 90-foot stone.
Yeah. Linda Simon said was the 90-foot stone described as blue? Was it?
Greenish, I thought.
Oh,
yeah, greenish,
interesting.
I thought it was greenish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it just looked to me that way, right? So, 90-foot stone was green, yeah.
An
so you think there's more than one?
Tablet.
Was there more than one? I don't know.
Does anybody think there's more than one?
I don't even think there was one. I still don't think there was one. It drives me crazy every time. So far they have found a stone where I'm like, they didn't find it. Anyways, I know the show says
there's none other in that shot that looked like
that. None there. Well, what if I told you there were several others just like that in Site 1?
What would you think of that, folks?
And why aren't they in the same spot? And what were they used for? I can tell you on good authority from someone who's been seen standing in that hole that there are several of those stones there. And it is yet to be determined what they were used for.
Yeah. Interesting.
They're still working on it. They're not sure. They don't know.
Yeah. And there is this one. If we had a better look at this one down here, it's got some square edges.
Oh, that's one Craig was talking about.
Yeah, down here. And there's one here with a square edge.
Yep.
You can only see that one angle right here. So there are some others.
Where did they come from? What were they used for? That's the thing that's the curiosity about it. If they were blocks that were used for something else, and we know from talking to Laird many, many times over the years that no ballast stones have been found on Oak Island. That all the stones have found, or at least and no one's told us about these ones yet, were ever deemed to have been ballast stones.
Yep. Wow.
So my speculation for the night is if somebody had all these square stones, what were they using them for? And why did they stop using them and use them here?
And why did they have such
if you were going to make a bunch of square stones, you would have made a wall or something with them.
Yeah.
Right? You wouldn't have placed them randomly through a pile of rocks.
No, they would have been used for one particular purpose.
And then deassembled to use someplace else. Maybe they brought them from New Ross.
Ah, maybe, huh? Are they well stones? I don't know.
Could be.
Interesting, but yeah, so always be looking on these shows, folks, all the time. And that's something that, we've gotten used to doing because we watch it so many times getting ready for the podcast.
Mhm.
But there's always little gems here and there that you just miss it during the show. Sometimes, not always. This one I happened to catch the first time we watched it last night. I was like, wait a minute, was that
Yeah.
uh,
Dean,
a
yeah, you
bit
got a
like
point. It is a bit like the one they found in the bookstore. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
it is. That's right.
But the thing that struck me right off the bat was the color and the fact that it was very, very smooth
Mm-hmm.
and flat.
Yeah, very smooth. And so why would you need a very smooth, flat surface? I mean, there's multiple reasons, but I mean,
Sure there is.
that has to be on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are some other like this one right here in the corner, but
Mhm.
you can again. I'm gonna have to watch the show again and see if there's anything else to be, any others like that to be seen because definitely interesting for sure. Yeah, and like you said, it looks like there's mortar or maybe clay along the edge there. So interesting. Pizza stone. Now I'm
Ooh.
hungry.
You never know.
All
Maybe
right.
that's why it's a dark color. Maybe it was used in an oven.
Yeah,
Yeah,
could be.
yeah, I like what Sail on Sailor said, the gap between two sections. Maybe it was kind of like a little window or small door,
Yep.
or I don't know, and maybe that's why it's worn.
Yeah.
You certainly
Yep.
wouldn't just use a rock like that in a wall full of round boulders. Like you would take advantage of that surface, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Now I'm hungry. Yeah. I know, right? Helen ends up finding a nice little tidbit looking in there when she's doing some archaeology work. A
mhm.
pipe stem that she said has the initials TD on it for Thomas Dormer. Thomas Dormer, who happens, and he said, is an English pipe maker from the mid 1700s.
Yep.
Who else was around this thing? The artifacts that have been found in Lot 5 or on Lot 5 have taken the time frame of Lot 5 and broadened it so much that I mean, what does it tell you folks with the amount of artifacts and the date range of what they go of these artifacts? What's your assessment of that? I have my prediction of what it is, and you've heard it said on the show before, but I'm going to throw that out to you all. It was, what do you think? Almost all predate 1700. Yep. The anvil. Yep.
Yep. And Laird said last night on the show, definitely pre 1700.
Yes, he did. That's right. Yep. We're getting to that point here real quick. But yeah, multi-generational use.
Yep.
So
There's
we
no
know
doubt
that
in my mind. But
we know that, or I think, I say we know, but we speculate. Maybe we know, but treasure has been deposited through over the years, at different times, different generations. Works have been done, so I assume a lot of work at different times was done for the point of treasure. You wouldn't just leave that and not leave a guardian. Like, I know we've kind of talked about how maybe Samuel Ball and others were like guardians of the treasure, but maybe even before you had a lot of people around, you would have needed a year-round encampment of men to protect that treasure.
good point.
And it's just been that was kind of the base of the people tasked with guarding the treasure in the New World or wherever, because if the menorah and other objects were here, do you just go, all right, we put it in the ground, let's peace out? No, I imagine you'd leave some people behind as well.
That's a very good point. You are going to leave somebody around to keep track of things. For sure.
Or if it was the first Bank of Templar, someone's got to manage it.
Right.
The first out of country Bank of Templar or whatever.
Offshore accounts. Literally offshore accounts.
That Swiss bank account in Nova Scotia. Yes, yeah. So yeah, that's a very, very good point, Seth. Yeah, they would definitely want to keep somebody around. I wouldn't leave the menorah and all that stuff there and walk away from it and hope that nobody found it while I was gone. overseas and can't get back for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah, and because we know there's definitely that connection, right? What did the nephew, I forget his name right now, but what did he say when he was like, that connection to the money pit is what's really exciting to him? Lot 5, Peter, thank you. Lot 5 on its own is interesting, but then when you have the things like the cement and the dirt that they know this definitely matches money pit, like that's even cooler because now it's
that ties it
whoever.
all together.
Yeah, because if you can figure out that, you learn a lot about the money pit, not just
Absolutely. Yep.
So
more to come on lot 5.
Phipps was definitely pre 1700, right? He was the shipwreck was 1648 or
right. Yep.
Whatever it was. Yeah.
Yep. So
that's a good question, Mark. Is someone still overseeing it now? I wonder that too. I think a lot of us do.
The last name is Barkhouse.
Charles,
you didn't hear from me. You didn't hear from me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, somebody's keeping track of it. I think we should look over there. I on good authority to say it's over there. Yeah, you never know. Gee, how did that garden shaft flood like that?
Yeah, isn't that
Getting
weird?
too close to the prize. Anyway, now we're.
Did y'all see what Lenora said? That's interesting. If we can put her comment up about.
Oh, if you look at how the stones are placed, and if you rotate the picture a little, you will have an image of the island. You can see many things, and you can.
That is interesting. Like knowing how as above, so below. What if they did build the structure to be a maybe scale of the layout of the island? I saw that. That's a really cool thought.
Wow.
I mean, if they're going to place,
that's
10-ton boulders all over the island, why not do that?
Right.
So where's the swamp? Is that over here or so?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see as they unveil more of it. Yeah, because I mean,
that's an interesting thought. Yeah. Huh. The original war room.
That's right.
It probably was.
The whole size and scope of what they're excavating down there now, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Oh, I know it does.
And if you look at the number of flags that they still have in the ground, it's like crazy.
Yeah, they're still scratching their head over the whole thing too. All right, next on the show, they jump over to lot 4, and got Jack and Gary. They get going, and right off the bat, they thought they found a coin, but it turns out to be another button. Kind of cool looking little button. They found a lot of buttons over there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to end up getting that looked at. Go ahead, Seth.
Were buttons just falling off? Is that a common thing?
Well, yeah, you wonder, right? Like,
like what is it with the buttons? I thought
how many
that
buttons
too.
have you lost off a shirt in your lifetime? 1 or 2, maybe.
Right.
That you didn't know about?
Probably on one hand.
I'm missing a button. Yeah.
It happens, but not that often, especially if I had like a gold button. An officer's, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, I suppose so. But when you think about it, I mean, there were no zippers,
right?
So everything that's closed by a zipper now was closed by a button then.
Yep.
Yeah. It'd be a good question, for the archaeologists. How common is it to find is Oak Island unique in the amount of buttons? I know it's unique in the amount of everything they're finding, but
all right.
What's with the buttons?
Yeah, exactly.
Hanging by a thread.
Yeah, hanging by a thread. Those buttons are metal and attached with a bail, the circular thing, not like our buttons now, right? Yeah, now they're threaded. Yeah. Yeah, and that would break off a lot easier, I think. Hanging by a thread, obviously, yeah. Yeah, that's there was another comment. No, Fran said, I'm guessing they didn't have nylon thread back then. Correct, yeah. There was another comment that went by. I thought it was
very suspicious, this Button Island. I like that, Dean.
Button Island.
There is an island in Nova Scotia where people lose their buttons.
Colonial site metal detectors find buttons all the time. Rapid Dog says, yeah, that's very true. They do.
Thanks, Rapid Dog.
Yeah, they just were hanging by a thread. So yeah. And they got, and then they found what Gary thought was a musket ball, or or a pistol shot. Yeah, it looks like smaller than a 68 caliber or whatever, but they were going to get it looked at. And then he found what he thought was a little piece of metal. Thought was silver at that point. And you can see his button right there in the background for a little hole in it where you threaded a lot more thread going into those. So then we jump over to the lab to get these things looked at. And of course, that little piece of what they thought was silver turned out to be aluminum. Is that what she was saying, or just had a lot of aluminum in it?
It had aluminum in it, which makes it modern.
Modern, right? So
any amount of aluminum is
yeah.
Okay.
Aluminum is a modern metal, so
yeah. So that piece is out as something modern. But then there was that lead ball. Why in the world? And this is a good question for everybody in the chat. Why in the world would this lead ball be all cut up like that? What do you think?
Well, Seth's already made that argument. You're sitting around all winter long with nothing to do, guarding a treasure. What are you going to do?
Right.
Might as well carve something up.
Or if you're trying to get it to weigh a specific amount so you can use it as a weight, maybe you would carve some off.
Off his Navy P coat. I had a Navy P coat too. I wish I still had that thing, actually, Dave. I don't know whatever happened to that Navy P coat. And my Cracker Jacks. Pigs chewed on lead. Pigs chew on lead. Oh, well, maybe. I mean, it could be. It's got weird. Maybe a trench art. Yeah. Or maybe, somebody had to lose an arm or something. Here, bite down on this. Yeah.
Geez, I give them a little something bigger than that to chew on, wouldn't you?
Bad rock, exactly. It does look kind of chewed on now that you mentioned
trench art.
that.
Yeah, exactly, darling. Trench art. Yep.
Or trench art? I don't know. Interesting.
Soldiers sitting around nothing to do, so you might as well, try and carve something into something.
Right. Sitting in I mean, how many times have we seen trench art and some really cool stuff? So yeah, I don't know. But biting on it, that's an interesting thought. I hadn't thought of that. Interesting that it's all boogered up. I mean, look here. It's once it was all cleaned up and the dirt was taken off from it, it really had a lot of dimples in it. Yeah, that's interesting. So, all right, let's take a point here now to jump over, and we're going to do our giveaway. Before we jump over to the money pit and all of that stuff, because we got a lot to talk about the money pit tonight. So let's do our giveaway, and I had a picture of them, and we'll when Linda, there she is. Hi, Linda, how you doing?
Hi, I'm great.
You look a little chilly. You're not now. You're all wrapped up there.
I am all wrapped up. Jan made me this for Christmas.
Nice.
And I wear it all the time.
That's awesome. Yeah, good thing to have right now for sure.
Yep.
This time of year, I got this. I know this. The trailers, they're not very well insulated, and so when it gets cold outside, right behind me, I have one of those fake fireplaces that has fake flame in it, and it's got the little heater in it. It's running.
It's got a blower, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's running, keeping my backside warm because it's probably down in the low 40s right now outside. All right, let's get this picture up of what we are giving away again, and I'll show that to everyone. And now to be participating in the giveaway, how this works is you have to be a member of our Facebook group page, which is the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. There's a link for it down below in the description. You must be a member of our group. Linda will put out a post showing the picture of the following or the coming week's giveaway. All you have to do is say yes as a comment to that post. That's it. And then you're automatically entered into the drawing that she will spin for here in just a little bit. I'm here. Dave says he's here. He's already figuring he's going to win tonight, I guess. So that's how you are eligible to win. And to get this, you must be present at the podcast. So we'll spin. A name comes up. We'll give you about a minute to say you're here. And then if you don't, then we'll spin again. And if you're here, we'll go from there, and we'll find out exactly how to get that over to you. So, all right, Linda, are you ready?
I am. The other thing I'm going to add is that if you win during the season, You don't get to enter again until the finale.
Till the finale.
And that gives 25 people a chance to win during the
Right.
season.
Yeah.
Or approximately.
Assuming we're going to have 25 episodes this year. So.
Yeah, who knows? They started later, finished earlier, but they may spread it out. So who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
All right. We'll put you in solo layout. We'll get the spin on here. Whoops.
Okay.
Why didn't that work? There we go. Solo layout. There we go. All right. Spin away. A lot of names on this one, too.
There are a ton of names.
Oh, I saw Noel go by. Chris Kennison.
Chris Keniston.
Chris was there earlier.
Are you here still?
He's in Florida. Come on, Chris. Where are you?
Oh, yeah, he should be here. It's, it's only 8:22 here. Oh, well, no. I thought that was Chris. That's all he's at. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
All right.
All right, Chris, I will get this off in the mail to you as soon as I can get through the 14 inches of snow to the post office.
All right. Good job. Congratulations, Chris Keniston. And yeah, that's kind of a good. And that cross was made by Mr. Carmen Legg. Yes. He had those in the Oak Island Treasure Shop when we were there. So picked up a few of those.
I didn't know if that's where they were or if they were at
you know what? You know what? You're right. They were at the train station. At the Chester Museum. It's a train station where Danny Henniger, he also has a display of Oak Island. That man, has been called Mr. Oak Island because he knows so much about Oak Island. You're absolutely right. Thank you for that reminder. It was the train station museum.
Well, I knew that originally he had put some there, but that didn't mean there weren't some at the treasure shops.
Yeah, no, we went over there and picked them up. That's right. I forgot all about
If you ever get a chance to go to that train station and talk to Danny Henniger, you got to go.
That is a must-stop place when you are in Nova Scotia. If you're there visiting for the island and all that, go to Chester, go to the train station, and if you get a chance to meet Danny.
Not only does he know stuff, but the funny stories he will tell you will keep you in stitches for hours.
Yes. What a great guy. He is really good. I did a little interview with him in that train station that one day, and that was a lot of fun. We're going to do another one of these days when we get him back. Yep. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Linda. That one quick.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Linda.
I'll put a new one up on Friday. And you have until Wednesday at noon to say yes on that post.
There you go. All right.
Thanks.
All right. Bye. All right. Let's continue on, and we're going to jump over to the Oak Island Research Center. This was actually at the beginning of the show, but I decided to keep it until the end here because there's so much to talk about on this one. Mm-hmm. All right. But you have the Steve and Doug and what's that guy's name there? Oh, yeah. Scott and Rick all in there. And they were looking at, the funny thing was that they were talking about a borehole that we didn't even see on the show that they had done. But this was, they showed this first, and this was actually from 2022.
Yeah, it's for their pre-2022 chart. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was where they were talking about all the metals that Ian Spooner, Matt Lukeman, and Dr. Michaels was finding in the water samples. And they were saying it was their concentrations were up around what they were calling the baby blob area, and also in the garden shaft. But then all of a sudden, they all just dissipated and they were finding no concentration. So they came back to saying, well, it's coming from this area, concentrating in that area. Well, now they're back to trying to figure this out. So that's where they kind of started this conversation. Then they were talking about this particular hole that they had done, D.5-7.4. And they mentioned right off the bat, a large section of wood was found at 98 to 99 feet, right around in there. Okay. interesting. But we didn't get to see that on the show, but it did get filmed, and here it is here. This is when they pulled it out of the ground. You can see all the wood and this, and think about this, because they always seem to pull this up, and I'm going to explain this real quick, and you people already know because you guys are way smarter than I am. But you have wood, and then you have like a soft, muddy, slurry looking section, maybe with a little cobble in it, and then you have generally wood again. Okay. That's what's in the bottom of, if it's a tunnel or even a collapsed tunnel, you're going to get all that slurry stuff in between the wood because that was sitting on the bottom of the tunnel, or if it's collapsed, it's going to be in there as well. So it's good to find that, in my opinion, to find that slurry, really soft. And that's what he's putting his thing into right here. That's all this stuff here, the soft mush.
And even if they filled the tunnel back in when they left, it's still not going to be as solid as the in situ stuff.
Absolutely.
It's just going to be loose.
Yep, absolutely correct. So that was, and that was the look back at when we didn't get to see them drilling this particular hole, but they did find wood. So, and keep that in mind. And that's right, just north. Well, I'm going to say northwest of the Hedden shaft.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, northwest of the Hedden shaft, right off the corner here. So then, and this was cool. I wish I could have. I don't know how much I could bribe Steve Guptill to give me, let me have a copy of the 3D drill program.
It's all I've been asking to see for years.
Wow. This was so cool. I mean, I could, this doesn't even come close to 3D model, right, Coach? This doesn't even come close to showing you what it was like, but he was rolling it around and you could see the walking of the drills and how they might go right and then they go back left and they curve. It was awesome to see this, wasn't it? This does not do it justice, this picture.
Yeah, you can take screenshots of it all night long and see something different.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the one thing that they did have was, this is the borehole that they did, this yellow one running right down here. I don't have my pointer tonight, so I hope you can see that. This is the one. This is the 2024, and it says D 0.5 or 7.4. That's the one that this one right here. Look how far that walked, and it's amazing, right? Hey, Jess, how you doing? Jess Grollo, that makes these wonderful tumblers for us. I just got a whole bunch more. I got some with the Bluetooth in them too that she sent me.
This is the one I have that I want.
Oh, you got the Bluetooth one.
Woo-hoo. Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Nice. Got a little speaker in it. Some Bravante. Yep. So, but this was so cool. I would love to get this. I would love to get a copy of this thing to be able to look at this. That's so awesome. But this is the new hole that they're going to be drilling, E.75-5.6. And that kind of gives you an idea of where it is. Now, this is inside the Dunfield dig circle.
Correct.
And something I want to point out about the Dunfield dig circle is that it started off at 100 feet at the top. Did it go down 140? Was that what it was?
Something over 100. I can't remember the exact.
Yeah, it was a little over 100 feet down, but it ended up the bottom where you see here, this small circle right here. It was only about 10 feet in diameter at the bottom.
Yeah.
So it was a huge cone. It was a huge cone shape. So when they are drilling in this E.75-5.6, you're going to be digging into his spoils when he filled it back in.
Shape something like that.
Yeah, there you go. Like that right there. Exactly. Now you're going to be digging in the spoils for a little ways, maybe depending upon where you're at, maybe 30, 40, 50 feet down. But then after that, you're going to be in situ again or something else.
If you're on the outside edge, you can go down 10 feet and you're in situ.
Absolutely.
Because the whole thing just shaped like this all the way around.
Yep, exactly. A big cone. And it was constantly falling in as he was digging down deeper and deeper. It was constantly caving in on him. No, I did not, Linda, but that's a good point. Thank you. The Tupper shaft. Yeah, Mark mentioned here about the Tupper shaft. Doesn't Restall's book say that there was a shaft between Hedden and Chappell shafts? That could be the Tupper shaft, which was shown above the shaft. Yeah. Well, yeah, the diagram, let's get back to that real quick. Right here, the Tupper it is actually, according to what they think, it's just above, between the Hedden shaft and the garden shaft. So it's on that
Correct.
side. So here, let me bring up the other one again. It would be right here in this area. I said garden shaft. It's actually toward the northwest or northwest. So in this area right here is where the Tupper shaft was. Now, and you see that the Dunfield dig did not hit, or maybe caught just the edge, catch the Hedden shaft or the Chappell shaft. So that's actually a good thing in my opinion. But Dunfield was pretty certain he knew where to dig, so that's why he did what he did, and they destroyed so much in the process. But he thought he knew where it was. He obviously missed it, especially when you're talking about a cone that comes down to 10 feet at the bottom. So he missed it. And I want to keep that pointed out here. The fact that the Chappell shaft and the Hedden shaft and the Tupper shaft were not destroyed in this process of his digging. Now you see, and this is the picture I used for tonight's thumbnail, that this is the area that they're talking about is where the the book says that he did see the money pit sidewalls. Maybe he did. He might have, or he might have saw the edge of one of these shafts too. I don't know.
Yeah,
what book is that?
I think he's talking about Sullivan's book.
Is it Sullivan's book? I've actually read Sullivan's book, but I don't recall that.
I think, and I think subject to interpretation, what they could be seeing is they would go down, they would dig a shaft, they'd hit water, they'd move over 5 feet more, dig another shaft, and try and pump the water from one end to another.
Right.
So there's numerous walls down there.
Right.
But could they have hit the side? Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That circle area, and I'll bring that back up. That circle area is actually where they're talking about the concentration of the metals, non-ferrous metals, coming from, making their way up. But I think that inside that circle is where the money pit is.
Yeah.
Now, Chappell, and here's a question that I wanted to throw out. Oh, Mark's okay. Yeah. So Randall Sullivan's book. He said he could see the pick marks on the sides. Okay, cool. I'll have to reread that section again. The interesting thing about this is, and the question I wanted to throw out, maybe you could answer this, Seth or Tom, or even Linda, or any of the buddy in the chat. And it's one of the things I'm a little confused about. When Chappell put down his shaft, which is the smaller of the two, did he put it down on top of his drill program when he hit what he called the Chappell Vault? Was it right on top, or was it right next to it, or I don't know.
Let me think now.
I don't recall. And that's the question that I keep coming back to. Because
sometimes they drilled right from the surface.
Yeah.
Other times they dug a shaft down to a certain depth and then they drilled.
Yeah. You would think, yes, Coach, you would think that he would have put it right on top of it. But again, when he was drilling and he went down, however many, I think that was 100 and some feet, he went down to hit it. I actually have that. I think I wrote that down. But his drill would have walked as well.
Yep, absolutely.
And he didn't have a gyro to tell him, every 10 feet where it was walking to. So when he put his shaft in, was he off? Did he miss it? We don't know. But keep that in mind as we go along here. Now, this little picture here, and this is something that I found very confusing on the show. Yeah, the parchment was found and the gold. Yep, that's it. That's the one. Yeah, I don't know why there was no follow-up on that. But here's something that I found very interesting as they were talking about all of this. And we'll get to this as we go along here, but they talked about this new borehole E.75-5.6, and they showed a picture of it. and they said a possible spot for a caisson. They said that they hit wood at 109 feet at the top of the tunnel and a possible tunnel at 110 to 117 feet.
Yep.
Okay. Something else that I noticed about this, they were calling this red circle you see right here. Prometheus was popping pictures up as the guys were talking, and you saw this one here. This is not where E.75 5.6 is not in this circle. It's actually off to the left. Yeah, and so it's right here. That's where the circle is. This circle is right here, right off of the Hedden shaft. And I went back and forth looking at this, and I tried to get as close as I could. They put this circle right here when they were talking about it. You see the circle pop up, thinking that's where this E.75 is, but it's actually over here. So it was a little confusing as they were going along, and they were talking about putting a caisson in this spot right here, which is the area that has not been explored by very many drills. You see these little white marks are drills. I believe that's what they are. And you see the circle. This is right off the corner of the Hedden shaft, which is right there. So
are the circles caissons?
Yes, yes. The purple ones are the smaller caissons. The red ones are the 10-footers that they put in a couple years ago. And the blue ones were some of the first ones. H8's right here. That's C1 over here, I believe.
C1 right there, yeah.
Yeah, C1's right here. That was some of the first ones. H8's right here. You can see the number there, H8. What this square is around it, I have no idea what that means. But, yeah, so the different sizes they did over the years, starting off with the small ones were first. Yep. And OC1 was over here hitting the Hedden shaft. Oh, did you? Okay. Thank you, Zane. Appreciate that.
I'd be putting a caisson everywhere. There hasn't been one yet.
Yeah. So new spot is that, and that's a great place for a new spot. Yeah, he is earning his keep. Yeah. So yeah,
there are clearly places down there they haven't hit yet.
Oh, absolutely. And what did they say about that whole working area? You could miss it by that much, but you talked about this about the size of things down there.
Yeah, like you could like we talked to Steve there a couple of years ago, and he said there's still places up there that we have not drilled yet. That doesn't mean somebody else, like the Becker drill program put down 49 6-inch holes in 1967. That doesn't mean that the area has never been drilled.
Right.
But what it means is these fellows right now have not done any extensive drilling in that area.
Yep.
So he said there's still places down there that we have not drilled.
Believe it or not.
And that
right.
something that he said you could put a small car down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that the drill walks as it goes down, he makes it even worse. To try to and that's why largely unexplored. Exactly. You're right, Coach. And I'm glad that's why they put those they put the gyro down every so often so they can get a look at exactly where it's walking to. They didn't have that years ago, so they were guessing when they hit the chapel, what they call the chapel shaft. They were completely guessing. And
their depth could easily be off too.
Absolutely. And I don't know how they did it back then. I mean, did they have a 200-foot tape measure that they put down in there?
I guess they just judge by the length of the pipes.
Right.
And 100-foot pipe straight down goes 100 feet down.
Right.
120 feet of pipe going at an angle like this goes 100 feet down. So do you think you're down 120 or are you down 100?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yep.
And these guys were going down over 200 in the original programs.
Yep.
So how far out did that drill walk that they thought they were down 200? Maybe they're really only down 170.
Oh.
Yep. Put a plumb bob down, Bill says, yeah. Yep. He would have to at some point. But getting back to that picture, I mean, that kind of throws this all off is, so I'm not sure about the pictures they were popping up and showing us, because that right there where I put the new caisson circle that's where that red circle is on the other map. This one right here, that's where it's at. It's just barely off the corner of the Hedden shaft. So that's a good place to put one, in my opinion, too. And what else is there is this. So if you look where I'm going, right off the corner of the Hedden shaft right there with the circle, and there it is there, right in the area where they have found a supposed tunnel down there at about 100 or so feet. So that's a good place to put one.
Yeah.
And this one here, and this was, excuse me, this was also a little bit confusing for me. As I was saying earlier, they said they were talking about 109 feet. They hit the top of a tunnel. Then a possible tunnel location from 110 to 117 based upon the wood that they found. Then they said at 123 feet, they found more wood. But then it all got, and this question about what Terry Matheson had said, he said, as they were talking about this right here, what you're seeing in this picture, which we'll get more about this wood that they found right here. When they had this up on the table, he said all situ down to 149 feet. Is that the same borehole? Are we talking about?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's the methane.
Yeah. Well, you know what it could be is that from where they found this other tunnel down to where they found the new tunnel is all in situ.
Okay. And that might be the case. That might be what he meant.
Right.
That from that 123 down to 149, it was all in situ.
All in situ.
Now, okay, if that's the case, and they hit wood that they believe was a tunnel at 110 to 117, they found a little bit more wood at 123, and then they find another massive piece, this right here, at 155 to 159.
Just a little spiral staircase tunnel.
Spiral staircase. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. What in the heck does that mean? A spiral? Remember when they talked about
what it means is you got to put a case on this spot.
You got to put a case on down there. Oh, yes, you do. Absolutely. So are we talking tunnels at different levels?
Yes.
Well, we know that people like Chappell and those guys went down with their shafts, and they did exploratory tunnels.
Yep.
Right.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Okay. So were they down, did their tunnel, you hit one of their tunnels, but now you go through their tunnel, hit the in situ for the guy that was there 200 years before them.
Yep.
And there you go, Tom, with the most rational explanation.
And you go back to that one picture that I was showing you earlier, and I'll bring it back up. This one right here, and thank you, Tom, for bringing that up. Here is what some of the original, the number one is supposedly the money pit. Number 2, 3, and 6 are searcher tunnels. 2 was supposed to be 14 feet off of the money pit. So you see down here at the bottom, that's what Tom is just talking about.
And then, so that the shaft that goes the deepest, that kind of has that little slide down.
Number 6,
yeah. Was that dug to drain the money pit? Or were they trying to get to it from that shaft? Or
remember the one guys that were talking about coming down underneath it and coming up? That was who was that? Triton?
Yeah, it could have been.
Or
keep in mind too, they also dug ventilation shafts.
Not Triton. Yes. That's very true. Yeah. Yep. But all of these have a connecting tunnel going vertical or horizontally.
Yep.
So they were all trying to make their way in there because the original money pit was flooded. So they were trying to make their way over there by going under it, coming around a different way, and that too got flooded. So, yeah, Truro. I think it was
Truro Company. Yeah,
Truro Company. Thank you. Yeah, I believe Linda's correct. I believe it was Truro Company.
Linda would know.
She would know. So Tom could be very well correct. It might not be a spiral that the Restalls talked about that I saw somebody else mention. Mark said the Restalls corkscrew, which they believed in because maybe they were hitting that same kind of thing.
Well, I mean, the Muon stuff that they showed us had things that, I mean, and I'm not a interpreter of Muon data, but I had stuff that looked like stairs to me. So
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
And when you think about it, you could
the Muon did.
easily, I shouldn't say easily, but you could move things up and down through a spiral tunnel and not need a huge, extensive block and tackle crane,
Right.
whatever.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
You just need the
So-
manpower, and they had lots of manpower.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of manpower for sure. So the wood that they found at 159 or 155 to 159, because they did go down past 161 feet, which I'm glad finally they went down that deep.
Finally.
But this wood here, you heard him talking a couple of different things there. 3 different types of wood. You talked about a beam and a post and a beam. But obviously going in different directions here. And you can tell how the sonic drill tears it up going through there. And then they talked about, so they had the top, they had some slushy stuff in there, slurry, and there was some cobble. And then they had a bottom. Then they had concrete, what they thought looked kind of like concrete. That little piece right there. Now, that might have just been limestone.
Could be limestone.
But they found that down there as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? And what
so many different analysis done on concrete or what's believed to be concrete. Because Jan gave us some nice information today. I don't know if you got that or not. There you go.
Yeah.
And there's an analysis of stuff that was brought. I don't know if it shows the depth on there or not.
It said the stone was struck at 153 feet 8 inches in boring the second hole.
Okay.
Had several characteristics of cement. One, experimenting with it, it was found that when wet, it had to be constantly stirred to prevent it from setting. So that before adding water, it was important that the sand should be thoroughly mixed with it. Then it talks about the different lime, carbonate, silica, iron, and all this was done. This was from the samples that were found. The 2 samples were sent in 1897. So, and thank you.
Kind of neat. That's kind of neat when you think about it, because 153 feet 8 inches. So, I mean, I'm going to round it up to 160 feet. When they did the Becker drill program in 1967, they didn't take any samples until they got down to 160 feet. So they're all in that same area, and that's where they deemed to be bedrock. So were the other guys hitting bedrock or were they hitting concrete?
Yeah, I don't know.
Concrete.
I like concrete. But,
yeah, concrete, maybe. I don't know.
And the Becker program brought up concrete from deeper than that, sent it to Canada Concrete. They analyzed it, and they said it was from the 16th or 17th century, so 15 or 1600s.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Who
would have done that?
Is there concrete down there or concrete-like substances? Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's really Les McPhee and Harris book. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody, because Mark asked which book is that from. Still available. Yes, it is still available. And you remember what Chappell said. He's talking about this right here. That they had a concrete that they thought was concrete, wood, and then a void for 7 feet, I think it was, and then wood and concrete again. So
all kinds of interesting stuff down below that 150-foot level.
Yeah. Yes. Down below the 150-foot level. And, it's amazing because a lot of times they don't go that deep. And something that you were talking about was going beyond when they hit every time when they put a case on or whatever they put down in there, they hit the bedrock.
What they think is bedrock. They think is bedrock.
All stop. When they hit what they think is bedrock, they stop. Like,
it says here that the Becker drill program would sink 49 6-inch diameter holes in and around the money pit. 49. That's a lot of drilling.
That's a lot of drilling.
Right? And they would begin researching at a depth of about 160 feet with variances of 10 feet from either direction. Because the top of the money pit, the elevation, nobody really knows for sure after Dunfield finished what the true elevation is.
Right.
So down to 160 feet where they get into the first, and then they hit the so-called bedrock. When another 40 feet and they hit wood 2 layers of wood that were several inches thick, separated by a thin layer of clay. And after passing through that, the drill dropped into a void 6 to 8 feet deep. So,
why would you have wood, clay, wood? Are you trying to keep water out?
Clay was the waterproofing.
Yep. Blue clay.
Okay.
And where do you find the blue clay at? Well,
The swamp.
The swamp. Yeah, the swamp. So, yeah, that's really interesting, is it not? Because you drill, and I keep, I know I get on my soapbox and I rant about this, but when you hit that bedrock, keep going. Keep going. Now, the one thing it doesn't say in that bit that I don't think I caught you say was when they went into the bedrock, was it still bedrock when they hit the wood?
They don't say. They said they hit bedrock and they continued to drill another 40 feet. So was it solid bedrock till they got to the void? I don't know.
I still believe firmly in the swamp is holding something of great importance, if not the treasure. I agree with you, Jess. The swamp has answers, and we're going to see some of those answers start to come through next week.
Yes.
Because they're back in the swamp.
One of the drill programs they went down, remember they said they hit metal?
Yes.
They wore off the drill bits and metal. Yeah.
Yep. So
all kinds of interesting stuff in there. If you don't have the book, I'd recommend it.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, Randall Sullivan's book is a really, really good one. Oh, so many of them are
there.
Yeah, including Scott Clark's and
Scott's an excellent book. Yeah, those are actually my 2 go-to books for the history of the island right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or people who may have been there.
Yep. And don't forget
unless you're talking Vikings, in which case I got to talk to Doug Simmons. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, Doug Simmons, the expert on
or
the
Scottish.
Viking
You got to talk to Jim McQuiston. So
right.
I know there's so many theories. Could they all be right?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about it, think about it this way. Just to digress for a second.
Mm-hmm.
We know the Vikings were in Atlantic Canada in the 1100s.
Yep.
And we pretty sure, based on the findings that so far, and I'm helping somebody else do some research on it, that they were in Nova Scotia and they were definitely in New Brunswick. That's pretty much conclusive.
Yep.
So that takes you into the 1100s and 1200s. Well, who was coming into prominence in the 1200s and then get shut down in the 1300s?
Yep.
Who, in theory, were supposedly helped to learn how to sail by the Norse.
Right.
With the Templars.
Okay. Yeah.
So that takes you into the 1300s, into say the 1400s, when you're into the Portuguese.
Yep.
And Columbus, who we know were in the Maritimes. We know the Portuguese were here. There's absolutely no question about it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then you jump out of that time zone and you jump into the 1600s, and you get people like Champlain, Phipps. They were all here.
Yep.
Those are facts. They were all in this general area.
Right.
And then from the 16, 17, 1800s, you get the British and the French fighting all over the place.
Yep.
So could any or all of them have been on Oak Island for some purpose at some time? Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the other point to all of that is...
So you don't need to buy any of those books now. You just heard it.
Exactly. Tom just laid it out for you. Because if you think about that, all that information from whoever was here first, the Vikings, i.e. the Templars, in that first time frame, that information could very well have been passed along to every single one of those folks that came along later.
It's going to be a pretty hard secret to keep when you get home. Guess what we found?
Yeah.
This whole new land full of wood and butternut trees.
Now you see why he's the co-host of the show?
Just one of them.
Seriously. And Seth, I mean, folks, and you all in the chat with all the information that you guys have, I mean, we got the smartest group ever, I swear. Mm-hmm. I know Jake said that too the other day. I was watching his podcast. I actually caught his after the fact because he was I had stuff happening on Sunday night. I couldn't watch it, so I watched it later, but he said the same thing. Oh man.
And there's still searchers there today, and we can prove it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great summary. Thank you very much for that, Tom. I appreciate it. Because in the things that were found when Chappell, like the gold they said was on the drill bit after they hit what they think was the vault and into a treasure chest of some sort, came up with gold, and then this piece of parchment that had the VI on it, on all of that. That was all part of that Chappell shaft story. And so the Chappell Vault story. So one of the things that I, got looking at, and this kind of goes back to the placement of these caissons that they're talking about putting in now. And the reason why I chose the picture I did for tonight's thumbnail, because I think they're now back in the correct spot. If there was an offset chamber, that would be somewhere else, maybe in the blob area or whatever, like they were looking over by the garden shaft and all of that kind of stuff. And where they were finding the heavy, concentrations of gold and silver and whatnot in the water. But I think getting back over to where, and I'm going to throw this question out, and I think I'm correct on this, but did not Hedden and Chappell know where the money pit was when they did their shafts? Because they were trying to. Yeah, I believe they did. And if you look at the pictures, and I've got a few of the old pictures here, the shafts were there. The tops of these shafts were visible. The Hedden and the Chappell shafts were visible back then. Mm-hmm. If they knew where the money pit was and they were putting shafts down alongside of it or around it to make access to it, and the Chappell Vault was that, did he put the Chappell shaft right above where he thought the Chappell Vault was? Mm-hmm. They knew where it was. So be looking in that area, right? I mean, this kind of makes sense to me that you would want to look in the areas of where the Chappell shaft. Now, are they obliterated now? We know that Dunfield didn't hit them with the Dunfield dig. But are these obliterated now? Would it be possible to dig down 20 feet or so and find any remnant of these shafts still there?
That's the problem. That's the problem when you start digging those. When you start putting the caissons down, you've got no structure to compare to. Because the hammer grab just grabs and rips. So it's not like you're doing an archaeological dig. You can't go down and look at the structure and see how it's formed. You can pull up timbers and look at them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But you can't, there's no structural, design to look at.
Right. Exactly. So, that's, okay. Yeah. Oh, you got, okay. Chappell and Hedden believed they knew where it was. And correct. I believe they did too. So that's why I go back to the circle right here. If the money pit was, if they believe they knew where it was and they put their shafts down in that area, then that's the area I would be looking for the money pit, the 13-foot diameter money pit. And that was the question that was asked by Rick. If you remember at the beginning of the show, he said, could you fit a 13-foot diameter in that spot? Yeah, you could. And that was the spot that I had picked out right here. And new caisson. Now, that is definitely a spot I would definitely sink a caisson right there in that spot. Okay. You know where another one is that I would put would be just a little bit over here to this. I would put one right in here as well. Now, one thing that I did, because I get going on these tangents, looking at different stuff like this. But these pictures that I had of that, remember this, and I'll show this real quick here too. The garden shaft showing there. Remember, they left a caisson in the ground. Where's that caisson's placement? Okay. It's right off of the south end or the southeast side of the garden shaft perimeter. It's like right almost just a little bit off the line going down there, right? So, and there's another picture of one of the shafts that was there. There's another shot. And you've got here. We were talking about the dual flood tunnels. Here was a picture by Laverne Johnson showing Smith's Cove flooding in here, cave-in pit here, and then the treasure over here, and the money pit not even being where the treasure was. This was an offset chamber if I ever saw one.
Yep.
Is that the garden shaft over there? Where the treasure is, or would it be on the other side?
Maybe, huh?
Because that's what I wonder. We still don't know who did the garden shaft, and I'm with you, Jeff. Hedden and Chappell, they knew and they knew something we don't. enough to make them believe they had pinpointed it. And the same area as Dunn felt. He felt like he knew these guys were all in the same spot. What if whoever built the garden shaft, they seem to have known that there's a tunnel that runs that way? How did they know that? Who built it? So I'm still intrigued by the garden shaft and what the purpose of that is. Were they trying to get to the tunnel that runs to it because their money pit attempts were futile and getting flooded? Or is the garden shaft an attempt to stop a flood tunnel? Maybe it has nothing to do with actually searching treasure. Maybe they were just trying to stop the flooding, and that's why the garden shaft flooded so bad, because
you can tell that Marty is still very frustrated by the fact they can't get that water turned off.
Right, he is.
Maybe that's what they were trying to do in the garden shaft.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we think the tunnel is, because I see a lot of maps where they're showing, oh, here's a tunnel running. Maybe it's not a tunnel. Maybe that's the flood tunnel. Or the flood, it is a tunnel, I guess. But I always thought of it as like a tunnel to an offset chamber. Maybe it's not that at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm with you guys. I think Hedden and Chappell knew what's going on. But then what the heck is the garden shaft? And why were they getting readings up there? Was it that the water was just flowing and collecting there? So Spooner was getting the readings there, and then they ruined that flow? And
yeah, I think so. And I stand by, a lot of people are really, I see on social media all over the place that they're really hammering on Ian Spooner now because of all that. But
I don't think they should. Data.
No, I don't either. I do not either.
What is he going to do? Change the data?
Instrument the instrument gives a reading. It's not.
Data is the data.
Yeah. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
If the speedometer says you're going 50 miles an hour, you're going 50 miles an hour. It's not an interpretation. Right, it's an instrument. It makes readings.
Yeah. And there's
exactly. It's not guessing. Going, I think that's Yeah.
And they got consistent readings, and then they didn't. So why? I don't think it's a failure of equipment or failure of interpretation. Something changed, and maybe that's not even the source of it. Maybe it was just a spot where the water was collecting and not flowing, so they could get the readings, and then they moved stuff around and
collapsed.
Yeah.
Oh, we know there's been some collapses down there. That's why I did that one podcast. So worried about the whole integrity of the entire money pit flat. I mean, with all the shafts and tunnels and everything that's in the voids that we know that the seismic study found from Jeremy Church, I wouldn't be surprised to see one day this whole thing goes, drops down 20 feet.
Yeah, it's good Nova Scotia rock. You're good. Don't worry about it.
I sure hope so. There were some good things brought up here. I wanted to first of all, talking about Sharon. Yeah, Sharon, I hope wish you well on that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, the flooding of the garden shaft probably screwed up. Yeah, it could have. Let's see. The floor they found off the corner of the garden shaft, they said that it was only a floor remaining. The walls and ceiling had been removed. That's what they said. Yeah, that's what they think. Which could cause a cave-in. Yes, it would. It would absolutely cause a cave-in, which might have been the point.
Right. Maybe that's what the point of the garden shaft was.
That kind of leads me to, if they knew that, then they could dig back down there and get back into it and get their treasure out whenever they wanted.
Yeah. Bill said sometimes you need to recalibrate your instrument. Absolutely. And that would, I think, be built into the startup procedure when you're going to use the instrument.
What happened to the big tunnel they found near Smith's Cove that Rick took the excavator ride in to see? Yes, indeed. That's what we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show a little bit. We were mentioning that very thing. I actually have I thought I had him on here, but I had pictures of it that I captured because that is an important thing. I was wondering, why didn't they dig that same hole or move a little bit toward the cave-in pit and dig that same hole again to find it down 50 feet?
I second that motion.
I don't know why, but then again, folks, it's so easy to be a couch quarterback here, and we look at this and go, well, why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they doing this? We're not there, and we don't know what's going on and what leads they have or what money they have to spend to get, certain things done.
And they could be saying, we already know what direction it goes in.
Yeah.
We saw it. We know where it's headed. We need to find something else.
Yep. But absolutely. But that's why I went back to this picture right here, because I think that this is the area they really need to be looking heavily in. Maybe broaden that circle just a little bit. But remember where I showed you where that caisson left in the ground is? If you take a line and you run it right across here. Now, this is an artist rendition of the money pit and the grid. We don't know how accurate this is. Okay. First of all, I'm going to say that right now.
Yeah, it's somewhat suspect.
Right. It is. It certainly is. But that would put the garden or the caisson that's left in the ground somewhere in this area.
Mm-hmm.
What did they find? If that's the case, we don't know that they left it there because they found something. They may have left it there because something broke. They may have left it there because the ground was collapsing and they had to get off the money pit and figure out what they're going to do and left it there for next season. Whatever the reason is, they left one there, and I would say it's generally in my red circle right there that I drew, somewhere in that spot. So I'm hopeful that they found something.
Well, we're 30% of the way through the season, so we're going to find out
Pretty
relatively quickly.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, so there you go with that. I do have a couple of other pictures that I grabbed. This was, he was just talking about that tunnel. That's the tunnel. I went back to the episode and found it.
Oh, wow.
And I captured the picture. Now, what do you see in there besides? Remember about the vertical flood tunnel that they were talking about, the Restalls, and the one that we talked about at the beginning of the show. Look behind that wood.
Mm-hmm.
There's rocks. There's rocks stacked in there. They're stacked in there. You can see them. You can see them right here. They're stacked in there.
Some of them look cut.
Some of them look cut. Was that the vertical section of the flood tunnel? Did they find it back then? Why didn't they dig this same spot? Don't know the answer to that. I really don't. But sorry, got to go. Rick is calling. Oh, well, yeah. Wouldn't that be nice, huh? But that's that picture that he was, so I would be digging back here again, quite honestly, if I wanted to really nail it down, because I think that was it. And maybe the wood is from the Restalls trying to block it off. But they didn't. I don't remember them finding concrete over there. They didn't say anything about that. But but yeah. So that was that deep hole.
The concrete would be in the lateral part of the shaft, right? Because they're trying to pour it down. Mm-hmm. You're not going to pour it sideways to cut off a vertical shaft.
Right.
Yep. So yeah, maybe so. I really, it's hard to say just exactly. I mean, that when we see the little thing that Prometheus makes, the little
if they didn't go back to that corner, there was a reason.
Yeah, there is.
Right. We just don't know what it is.
We're just not on the inside to know all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Another picture I grabbed real quick, I just wanted to show was this one here. This was from when the show was ending. Obviously, you can see the credits coming up.
I see a tunnel.
What is that? What is that? I saw that and I'm like, wait a minute. That looks like now it was probably just the scoop of the excavator
and the shading, but yeah,
and perfectly nice little square hole. But I saw that. I'm like, wait a second. That looks like a tunnel. It probably isn't. It looks tunnelish. I know it does, but yeah, it's probably not. It's probably just a scoop. It's about the width of the scoop on his excavator anyway.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. All right, next time on the Curse of Oak Island for next week.
We're going to the swamp.
We're going to the stinky swamp. So, yeah, they're going to be working in the stinky swamp. They found some logs. These logs look kind of familiar to me.
It's like a corduroy road.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like a corduroy road. If you ever heard of those, where sometimes they put logs down like that so they could drive equipment over it.
Oh, okay.
They still use them in forestry today.
Yep, they sure do. I've seen them going in and putting power lines and stuff.
Yep.
They have to sometimes make those to get their equipment
Throw a
back
bunch
in
of
there.
logs down. You can drive over the logs.
The other thing I wanted to point out about the picture of these real quick, and we'll probably talk about this more extensively next week. It looks like there's little metal things. You can see something right here in that one. And it looks like there's one over here in this one.
And one in
You
the
know,
middle,
and don't
too.
forget that there used to be a telephone pole or electric power line that ran all the way along remember the road that they found going across the southeast corner of the swamp? Okay. And it came up, and then they were following it up towards Nolan's
Telephone
house.
poles all across there, power poles.
There used to be telephone or power poles all along that same stretch.
Mhm.
They found some of them before when they found that big stone. So these might just be pieces of those old telephone poles. I don't know. Could be. We'll find out more about that. But I wouldn't, I saw these and I went, oh well, but we do know that there are some, they do look very telephone Polish. Is that how you have telephone Polish? Yeah. Thanks, Kat. But so
let's leave the Polish out of this.
Yeah, really. They didn't have anything. So we do know that they do find some really, thanks to Matty Blake when he was out there on his opening show talking. They got some great stuff coming up in the swamp north of the eye. I can't wait to get into this to find out what they even didn't they say something about a vault? What was the little line that Alex Lagina used? Vaulting. Let's vault over to the
vault. We're going to vault over to the money pit.
Yeah.
Vault over to the money pit. So something was there, and I can't wait to find out because John Edwards had talked about some stuff in there. There were certain spots that they had to look in this area, the Mercy Point, and all of those based on Peter Amundsen's information about the Tree of Life that he's continuing to work with. So I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to that. This here was something, remember and we're assuming again, a speculation that Helen had found something. I think it was Helen, or was it Moya? Might have been Moya. Somebody found something in lot 5 and they were holding it. We didn't get to see it. And then we see analysis here, and I zoomed in on this analysis and I see a lot of stuff saying glass.
They found another bead by the sounds of it.
Venetian bead. Blue side, clear side, Venetian, glass, French, glass. So this is all glass.
On it.
Yeah, look at that.
What are the dates on them?
Well, it says 1504, but I don't know, or 15. Yeah,
the 1770s.
I don't know if these are dates
green.
or
they are towards the end 1770s.
Yeah. Oh, 1770s, right there. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah, so we're going to get to find out what that was. And is that going to, mess up the dates even more? Probably, but they were pretty excited about this find. So that's coming up next week.
Just more data.
Yeah, more data. Exactly. So interesting things for next week, folks, but I'm glad to see them getting into the swamp and doing some work in there. And then we'll find out more about this work going on in the money pit, of course. I think they're about ready to patch up this down at Smith's Cove. Didn't you get the feeling that they were saying
they're done? They're done because until they can go deeper, like Rick said, we're done.
Yeah,
we're done.
So I don't think we'll see much more of Smith's Cove, at least in this, looking for that stuff anymore. I really wish they would dig back down to that tunnel though. That was interesting to see that. But yeah.
Yeah, you've seen one tunnel, you've seen them all.
So, all right, wrap it up. What do you guys think? Any last thoughts on this one?
Oh, I'm good. It was a good episode. More good stuff to come, obviously.
Yeah. Can't wait. What do you think, Seth?
It felt like they're certainly honing in on something special. I think it was good to see Peter's excitement because in the very beginning when Katya gets on the island and Rick is like, I enjoy your confidence. His nephews seem to take after Marty a little bit with their skepticism, which is healthy. But it was exciting. I think you can feel there's some excitement in the air, and especially with that little exchange between Rick and Peter, where Peter's like, "This is the most excited I've been at this table," and Rick's like, "Really?" Yeah.
He's looking over at him with that smile on his face. Yeah, I caught that too. Yeah, and he said to Katya about, I wish my nephews had that enthusiasm.
Yeah. So if the nephews are getting excited, something, things are happening there.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, every year I say it. This
the
is the
nephews
year.
take after dad. I think the nephews take after dad. They're like, yeah, okay, you're convincing me, but I'm not ready to jump in with both feet.
Yeah. I think so.
Show me more information.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, good point. Let's see who said it there. Barbara. Yeah, good point. Our hearts and prayers go out to the folks out in California. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
I mean, this has been 24 and the first part of 25 here has been so devastating with the hurricanes, the folks in North Carolina, and down here in Florida that got hit hard so bad. I have a friend who lost his house, or his house has to basically get gutted inside and everything. It's just awful. But and then now these fires going on in California. My goodness.
And there's nothing you can do about a fire. You can't outrun it. With the winds like that, you can't. You're done. You're toast. Literally.
There was one I saw on the news watching. There was somebody in their house showing camera out all their windows around on at least 2 full sides. It was just nothing but a blaze outside. I'm like, so yeah, bad stuff. So yeah, our prayers are for all those folks there going through all this too as well. So thank you for reminding me on that, Barbara. I appreciate it. All right, folks, that's it for us tonight. We appreciate you all being here with us. And like I said earlier, if you like the content of the show we did here tonight, please give us a thumbs up. It gives us a little boost in the whole YouTube algorithms to get this out there to more folks. And we appreciate you all very, very much. And with that, Tom and Seth and I hope Seth's going to be here. We'll catch you next time right here.
Thanks,
on the
Jan.
K3 906 podcast. Good night, everyone.